Hola, hoy vamos a estudiar las expresiones afirmativas y negativas en español. En inglés no se permite usar un negativo doble, pero en español sí. Se forma con la palabra no antes del verbo y otra palabra negativa. Pueden ver esta lista de expresiones afirmativas y expresiones negativas. Algunas expresiones son familiares, por ejemplo, sí y no, nada, nunca, siempre, también. So hopefully some of these automatically you know. Take a moment to look and see what you recognize. Y pueden ver también que estas palabras, estas expresiones son opuestos. Sí es el opuesto de no, algo es el opuesto de nada, etc. Ahora pueden ver la lista. Alguno y ninguno se puede usar en la forma femenina, masculina, singular, plural también. So you have to, of course, recognize that alguno y ninguno have to agree with the noun. Alguno becomes algún, and ninguno becomes ningún if it's used before a singular noun. So we don't often use the word alguno. We change it to algún if the word is singular. Por ejemplo, para decir, do you want some coffee? The word coffee, café, es masculino y singular. So instead of saying alguno, we use the form, the singular form, which is algún. So the answer is, ¿quieres algún café? Do you know, I don't want any garlic. The word garlic is ajo, and the word any is ninguno or ningún. And since garlic is masculine and singular, it becomes no quiero ningún café, although there's a mistake here, it should say ajo. A double written negative is actually required in Espanol when the word no comes before the verb. Any indefinite words that follow no must be negative. So in other words, once you go negative, stay negative. Don't ever add the word no with an affirmative word. So if you look on your list from the previous page, if you start in a phrase with one of these expressions, you're going to stay with one of these expressions. You'll never combine the word no with algo. Although we do that in English, they don't do that ever in Spanish. Ahora más ejemplos. To say I never swim in Español. So you can form this in two different ways. You could do it like we do in English and start with the word I, then followed by the word never, and then the word swim in the yo form. Or we can write this as a double negative. So the simplest way would be to say it as we would in English. The word never is nunca. So yo nunca nado. Or we can start as a double negative. Yo no. So to make a double negative, we always start with the negative form of the negative word no. Yo no nado nunca. So the nunca is followed by the verb. What we can't do is eliminate the word no if we're going to have the word nunca followed by the verb. So either the word nunca comes before the verb or after the verb as a double negative. I don't see anything. So again, we could write this as a double negative. No veo nada. So here we have an example of a double negative. We start with the word no, and then it's after the verb, it's followed by the word nunca. In the case of nada, it has to be a double negative. The word nada never starts a sentence with a verb in the sentence. When using the word alguien or nadie en una oración, se necesita incluir a personal. So we've seen a personal in español when we're using expressions with gustar. Por ejemplo, a él le gusta, a mí me gusta. The a in front of the me or él doesn't have any specific meaning, but it's used in Spanish to identify that we're talking about a person. So if I wanted to say, do you know anyone from Spain? The word anyone is alguien. And we would have to put this as with the a personal to identify that we're talking about someone. So the word to know in Espanol, when you're talking about to know a person, is conocer. So, ¿conoces a alguien de España? And when you want to say, no, I don't know anyone from Spain, here we have a negative. So we're going to use the word no. And because we started the sentence with a negative, even though in English we would say an affirmative, anyone, in Espanol we'd have to keep it as negative. So it's basically saying, no, I don't know no one from Spain. No, no conozco a nadie de España. So here you can see that a personal. So just keep in mind that when you're using the words alguien or nadie, you probably are going to have an a in front of that word when you're talking about someone again. Okay, ahora vamos a practicar. Go ahead and see if you can identify the opposite, el opuesto, el contrario de cada expresión. So some of these, of course, are going to be easier to identify because they seem like they have something in common. But go ahead and take a moment to see if you can do this without any help. Some things that might help you in the future. También y tampoco, they're opposites. We can identify those quickly because they both start with T. O and ni, they just look like they belong together. And then hopefully some of these you'll be able to recognize because they are familiar words like siempre and nunca. Also notice that alguien, that algún and ningún rhyme, they seem like they belong together. So really you only have to pay attention to número uno y número cuatro. Here are your correct answers. So algo means something, nada is nothing. Alguien is someone, and nadie is no one. Una práctica más. So circle what makes the most sense looking at your notes about what the definitions of these words. Do I say, hay algo camarero? Or do I say, hay algún camarero? So go ahead and pause your screen and see if you can figure out what the correct answers are. Y aquí están. Y pueden ver unas observaciones importantes. So we knew right away the número dos, for example, should have been ninguna because we know that if a word a sentence starts with a negative word like no, then it has to stay negative. We can't go from a negative to affirmative in Espanol. Okay, adiós.